The newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Some Abra residents are not keen on returning to their homes amid fears of more earthquakes. Mon Gualvez with the details.
Smashed walls, knocked down ceilings, tons of stuff lying around, and a lot of cracks everywhere. These are just some of the damages sustained by an Anao integrated school from the magnitude 7 quake in Tayum, Abra. Teachers like Robert cannot help but get anxious, especially a magnitude 4.6 aftershock suddenly happened right as he was being interviewed.
Natatakot po kasi akong baka matabunan kami. So parang mas gusto na lang namin dito sa labas magturo.
DepEd continues its monitoring and assessment on the situation of schools as classes are slated to begin August 22. They're studying whether to delay the start of classes in affected areas or to put makeshift classrooms in what they call tent-type spaces. Aside from schools, there were also heavy damages on the Church of Tayum or the St. Catherine of Alexandria Church, which was built in 1803. Part of the bell tower crumbled and the church itself almost got halved because of the long crack that suddenly appeared in the middle. The church is set for restoration, but while it's not yet happening, churchgoers pray that there will no longer be any more damages as aftershocks continue. The shaking also continues in the town of Lagangilang. The municipal hall here is off limits to employees because of the damages. That's why they're currently holding office in open spaces and the garage.
Siyempre may mga aftershocks pa. We were also advised by the provincial government na as much as possible, hindi muna kami papasok doon. So mas gusto namin doon sa opisina, nakakatrabaho naman kami sa labas.
In Barangay Nagtipulan, the effect of the quake was very pronounced in the chapel from the outside to the altar. Almost every house inside also got damaged by the quake. Residents fear their homes would totally fall off, especially because aftershocks continue.
Kung kailangan gibain, sir, kailangan gibain. Kasi delikado na din po yun. Ano na yung mga pader doon, may crack na din. Kasi pag itutuloy mo yan, lagyan mo lang ng baka kunting lindol lang.
Yun nga.
Natumba sa'yo. Hindi namin alam kung paano ayusin. Kasi ngayon, wala nang pera.
Like in other places, people here choose to stay outside their homes. One of them is 83-year-old Philomena. She has a lot of wounds and bruises on her arms and legs after hollow blocks fell on her during the quake. She believes her faith in God saved her. Fivox meanwhile clarifies that not everyone needs to stay outside their homes.
Mahirap sa labas kasi yung weather, yung mga insekto na nandyan. So para lang maging, at syempre pag nasa labas ka hindi ka makatulog talaga ng maayos. Baka pwede na silang pumasok para makatulog sila ng mas maayos, mas maging kampante sila. Yung mga aftershocks, sabi ko nga, mangyayari siya at mangyayari. Kung ano yung ginawa nila nung malakas na lindol, kung nag-drop cover and hold sila, ganun pa rin yung gagawin nila.
In Abra Cervantes Road, we saw a payloader pushing off a huge chunk of rock that's blocking a part of the road. While in other roads, there are also big rocks as well. These are just remnants of the landslides that happened after the huge quake. On Baay Bridge, there were huge cracks branching off to the sides caused by the quake. This bridge connects the towns of Lagangilang and Bukay. Part of the bridge is impassable as authorities plug the cracks with soil to temporarily avert seepage of water. Due to the extent of the quake, it left long and huge cracks here in Baay Bridge. An even bigger problem is part of its wall separated from the actual bridge. If in the event there would be a strong aftershock, chances are not only the wall will fall off, but also the entire part of this bridge. Alagang Kapatid Foundation has also started giving away relief packs to residents affected by the quake. For News 5, Mon Gualvez, we are One News.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. As Abra tries to recover from the magnitude 7 quake, some residents in Bangued left their homes in panic after false reports of possible flooding. Mobile journalist Kyla Macantan has the story.
Around 113 families remain at the evacuation center in Bangued Town Plaza in Abra after the magnitude 7 earthquake. But it seems like the most of them left their homes, not because they were damaged, but rather out of panic. After the earthquake, word allegedly got around that water from a nearby provincial dam will be released. This will apparently hit Barangay Santa Rosa in Bangued. Because of this, residents like Jocelyn quickly left their homes to move to the evacuation center.
Rabin ma'am, ti danumon damon ko na damamay kami toy plus ma'am pinarta kami kumain talagpalit kami.
There were also reports that cash assistance was being given out in these evacuation centers. These, however, was quickly denied by local officials. Raquel Pacurso from Barangay Palau fled to her father-in-law's house out of panic.
Nila sa Santa Rosa, baha na daw. Tapos yung mga asawa namin pumunta sila doon para kunin yung mga kalabaw, baka, para pero fake news din pala daw.
As the province tries to recover from the quake, residents are having a hard time looking for a clean water supply. This, as mud is still coming out of water pumps.
Panluto, panghugas, ng pinggan. Okay lang yan po kaysa walang gamitin na tubig.
Mobile journalist Kyla Macantan, we are One News.
The Education Department says an estimated 1.29 billion pesos is needed to repair schools affected by the earthquake. According to Department Bulletin Number 3, some 422 classrooms were totally damaged, while 636 classrooms were partially major damaged. Now, this is from the total 9,500 affected schools. DepEd added that majority of affected schools have since resumed work a day after the quake. More and more special effects virtual studios crop up around the world amid the rise in demand for CGI by the film industry. Let's take a look inside one virtual studio in South Korea in this Bloomberg Quick Take.
With an increasing demand for VFX and CGI, virtual production has been steadily evolving. COVID-19 has also accelerated the adoption of this technology as more studios move away from traditional filming.
One of the reasons virtual studios recently received a lot of attention is because many production companies could not travel overseas or go on location to film.
Hollywood filmmakers, including ABC and Paramount Pictures, have already integrated this technology. And Sony built its first virtual production studio in Tokyo. So, how does this type of technology work? By integrating virtual background environments into live action footage, studios reduce the need for on-set production teams and crew members, which of course cuts production costs.
The virtual production stage is a production studio where you shoot with a floating background directly on the LED wall. It lets us produce not only movies and drama series, but also extended reality, commercials, and all kinds of other content.
A joint report by the British Film Institute and Arab says shifting to a virtual production environment can reduce carbon emissions from transport, which accounts for 51% of an average film production. Globally, the virtual production market was valued at $1.6 billion in 2021 and expected to reach nearly $6.8 billion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. North America so far has claimed more than a third of the market, but Asia Pacific is expected to grow. South Korean entertainment giant CJ E&M, known for hit K-dramas, launched its first virtual production stage in 2022.
Our VP stage is composed of more than 2,000 micro LED panels. We can create any scene, whether it's in the middle of the desert, the middle of the sea, or in outer space.
It's part of their growing investment in original content production following the success of Parasite and Squid Game.
Our goal is to use the CJ E&M Studio Center, where the virtual production stage is located, as a one-stop production base for all global K content.
Hollywood studio.
We're still in the very early stages of virtual production, and it's true that Hollywood studios are ahead of us in terms of technology because they started first. We're working hard to catch up.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 12 noon as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.